In this video, we're going to take a look at what the CMI Level 7 in professional consulting assignments look like. So we're going to take a look at just one, which is Unit 720. I've got the syllabus on the screen right now. And so if we just run through quickly to page 6, you can see the different qualifications, award, certificate, diploma, etc. There, that's how many units you're doing, and then there's a list of the units here. So I'm just going to take a look through Unit 720, just so you can get a bit of a feel for what the assignments look like and the sort of questions you'll be answering if you're interested in this qualification. If you haven't studied a CMI, so a Chartered Management Institute qualification before, then the level 7 units look kind of similar to this on the other qualifications. So yeah, it might be useful if you're actually looking at another level 7 on a different syllabus. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's have a look. So let me just jump over to a Word document. Okay, so like I say, these units, the assignment briefs all kind of look similar format as you'd expect, I suppose. The level 7, I'm just going to whiz down to the overview. So these are the questions. This is a written report. It's not an exam. It's open book in the sense that you study it and write it at home and then submit it to us for guidance, and you can submit it for us for marking as well. And it will be internally verified and it will be moderated by CMI. And they then, Chartered Management Institute, will certificate, provided you're successful. So let's have a look. The first task is made up of 2 questions and they're 1,000 words each. So it says a report or presentation entitled The Context and Principles Which Underpin Professional Consulting. You can see the learning outcome there, similar wording, and then these are the 2 assessment criteria. So these are the questions that you're required to answer. So discuss the narrative for professional consulting in a range of organizational contexts. And then 1.2, critique the behavior, skills and strategies for developing stakeholder relationships. 1,000 words each. I'll scroll up in a minute and we can have a look through the detailed version of that. But let's just stay with this screen as an orientation. The second task then is another written account, which is entitled The Impact of Ethics, Corporate Social Responsibility and Sustainability, so CSR and Sustainability in Professional Consulting. And the learning outcome is similar wording to that. And then the 3 questions, 2,500 words across all 3. So these are, what's that, roughly 800 words each. There is a margin of 10% either way, so plus or minus 10% on a 4,500 word count, which you can see here. So the first question for section 2, task 2, critically appraise the role and influence of ethics in professional consulting. Recommend 2.2, leading on from that, recommend approaches for responding to a minimum of 3 ethical dilemmas. And then 2.3, reflect on the impact of CSR and sustainability on consulting relationships with clients. And it's our job really to sit down and listen to what you've done so far and to plan and to organise your learning plan, your approach, the examples you're going to use, the sorts of things you're going to put in here. And we do that at Crescente here, we do that on an ongoing basis. So lots and lots of support. If we roll up to the top of this document then, and let's just look at those tasks given in more detail. So what we've done is we've just copied across the syllabus content. So if you get the CMI standard assessment brief, then it won't have this in there. It's easy enough to do for yourself, but we'll just save you the bother. So you know what they want you to cover. So we already looked at this in overview, so let's have a quick look again. The context and principles which underpin professional consulting is the title of task 1. And then it says the narrative for professional consulting in a range of organizational contexts. And then it says discuss. So the command verb or the action verb is discuss. So it wants a discussion, fairly obviously. So that's the way that you would write it. It needs to have a range of different points of view on the narrative for professional consulting in a range of contexts. So we would want to think about different contexts first, like what does that even mean? So you'll find down here, they've given really rather a lot of indicative content, if you like. So you're going to select from here, and really looking at this, we've been doing this many years, so this to me says you can almost choose whatever you like, really, and it's why it's our job as a CMI centre to be able to help you really focus in on. You could go through the list and work out what you know already and what would be a useful a few kind of useful different kind of directions to go in. And just help you to understand and position the question for yourself as well. What I think this says is what's going on with professional consulting? Like, what's the story? How does it work, and what's the need, if you like? So we could think about, if you've got, it's level 7, so you probably really going to need to have some years of experience of consulting in order to write these. Have you operated in different contexts? Maybe in a startup business, or a large business, or a small business, or a family business, or a different industries, like a agri-tech business, or a pharmaceutical, or like whatever it may be. So you could choose different contexts and think, okay, given those contexts, how are people using consulting? How does professional consulting kind of show up in those environments? And what are the perspectives on it? So that's the first question. That's an interesting question. And you want to put some models and theories in there, I guess, and we can choose some criteria by which you may wish to talk about them. And then narrative, by the way, just for sake of completeness, it just gives you this one line in the indicative content around, what that might be. So the nature of consulting, for example. Second part of that one then is critique the behaviour, skills and strategies for developing stakeholder relationships. So again, we would want to chat through what does critique mean, and we put command verb definitions at the bottom of these documents for you, but they're easy to look up as well. And then it gives you lots of behaviours and skills for developing stakeholder relationships. We would encourage you to use certain reference points. In one of these previous videos, we looked at the competency framework for consultants. That might be a really useful sort of structure, and they would appreciate that as a reference point here. Otherwise, there's probably lots of other different resources that you could use, kind of starting points you could use to provide some rigor. And then it says critique. So let's have a look. Behavior, skills and strategies. So it puts behaviors and skills together. And it's a bit of a mixture, I would say, between sort of strategy and tactics for me. So we've got the kind of strategy stuff, which is maybe you sitting down quietly on your own or with somebody, like stakeholder analysis. Remember, it's like for developing stakeholder relationships. So who are the stakeholders? Stakeholder identification, analysis, some kind of empathy type stuff, some research and analysis on them. And then that might be like a thought process. But then it also is referring to the behaviors and skills. So that's strategies maybe. But behaviors and skills, I think, is a bit more sort of like maybe some of the kind of emotional intelligence quotient sort of references here. Might be useful to look at something like Gerald Ferris's, political skill and political awareness or something like that, for example. And it's that interpersonal influence and your apparent sincerity and, those sorts of things that come into play here. And there's loads to choose from the indicative content. And again, like I mentioned in the previous part of this video, that's our job, is to kind of help you to really home in and identify these So there you go. I won't run through the rest of it in that level of detail, but just wanted to give you a bit of a flavour for what a CMI Level 7 assignment looks like in general, but particularly for the CMI Level 7 in professional consulting, which is this unit. So I hope you found that useful. If you want to get in touch, if that's interesting and you've got more questions, you want to take a qualification, or anything else about your development that we can help you with, then do get in touch. So yeah, thanks for watching. Comment below, follow us, do kind of make sure you have a look at the rest of the videos in this little series on how to become a management consultant. Thanks for watching.